All right, guys, we got a 2016 Cadillac CTS with a 2.0 8-speed automatic transmission. And what we're going to do is change the transmission fluid. Cody's got his tools together. What we're going to do first is we are going to pull the check plug. This is not a drain plug, but it's a check plug. He's going to allow all the fluid he can to drain out through that check plug, and then we will pull the pan down. Fluid's a little dark, as you can see. We have a shudder in this transmission. We're going to try to take care of it with a transmission fluid change. And I've got an additive I'm going to put in it, and I'll have a link below for that fluid that we're using and the additive that we're going to put in it to try to combat that shudder.
Okay, so we're going to drop this pan. These are 10mm bolts. There we go.
I'm going to look in the bottom of this pan and make sure that there's no metal or anything like that. We get it down off of here. There you go. This fluid has been hot. You can see that it's been hot, but I'm wondering if there's any metal in it. If there's metal in it, we're going to stop with this fluid change, and we are going to start thinking about putting a torque converter in it. But if there's no metal in it and the fluid's just black, what you see on Cody's arm there, then we're going to go on and change it. And we have cleaned these up. It might take a couple of fluid changes, but we have been able to clean these up. And over to the bench, I really don't see anything that would make me think that the torque converter is coming apart. I don't see any torque converter shavings or anything in the pan. We're going to go on and continue with this fluid change. And if you see big chunks of metal, or if you see like in the fluid, you actually see metal like floating around in the fluid. But on this fluid, it's just dark. It's not, it doesn't look like it's contaminated in no way. So we're going to go ahead and get this filter changed, and I'm going to show you in a minute what fluid we're using, and I'm going to show you what additive we're going to add to this transmission. The filter just slides down out of the transmission. It's not locked in with any bolt or anything like that. You just pull it down out of there. Alright, so we got our pan cleaned up and we got our new gasket on. What I'm going to show you now is when we put this filter on, this filter only goes a certain way. If you get it wrong, you could damage your filter. And we don't want that. We want everyone to be able to change their transmission fluid by watching our videos and get it done right and know that you've done a good job. So watch this real quick here while Cody puts his filter on. Okay, so you've seen how clean the pan was, and now we're going to put the filter on. Cody wants to show you a couple things about this filter so that you don't break your filter or cause yourself any trouble.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is you got this little O-ring on the snout. We're just going to put a little bit of assembly goo on that so that it will slide in easy and we don't take a chance on damaging that seal going up in. So on the back of this filter, you'll see that there's a little guide pin. I'll show you where that goes. So you slide this up. Okay, so you'll see that little square hole in the valve body. That's where your guide kind of goes. It'll be springy because you got that spring on top of the filter. That's okay.
And that's the way the filter's supposed to go on. If you do not feel that spring, then that means that that guide is over to the side like this, and you don't have any spring to it, and you will damage your filter if you try to put your pan on and that's not springy feeling when it goes up in there. You have this spring, and that is why that it feels springy once it goes up in there. Okay, so now you know how the guide pin goes up into the valve body. Neck of the filter up into the transmission, you are good to go to put your transmission pan on.
Okay, so on the bottom of this pan, you remember we removed this 10 millimeter check plug. I want to show you on the inside of this pan kind of how this operation works.
You see the check plug here, and you see the top of the check point where they want the fluid level to be. So as you're adding fluid into the side of the transmission through your fill plug, then you're filling up to the top of this tube. All right, we're gonna get the pan on it. Okay, so on the passenger side of the transmission, what we have is the fill plug, and Cody's going to show you how to get that out of there. So you can see the tool that Cody's going to use to pull that fill plug up out of there. And there's two pieces to this. You have a small piece that comes up and releases the bottom plug, and they may pull apart just like that one did. So you're still not done. If you pull out that little piece, you've got to get the plug, the actual plug out. And this is what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And when you get it together, it'll look like this. Like that right there. When you put it back down in there, we will show you how to lock it in. All right, let's get started pumping some fluid in. Okay, so the product we're going to use is Instant Shudder Fix. That's what we're going to put in it to try to combat the shudder. It, along with the Mobile One Blue Label Synthetic LV ATF HP, is the fluid that we're going to use. What I want to tell you about Mobile One, the LV stands for low viscosity, which means it's a thinner fluid, and the HP stands for high performance, which could actually mean anything. The ATF and the synthetic is self-explanatory, but anyway, what we're going to do is we are going to take this Instant Shudder Fix and we're going to pour it into one of our bottles that we are about ready to pump into the transmission, and that way it will mix just as soon as we start the vehicle. So let's go ahead and do that. And I just turn it up and squirt it right down into the first quart that Cody's going to put in there. There we go. Now all we got to do is pump this in. What Cody's going to be using to pump it in with is called a transfer pump. I'm going to have a link below for the transfer pump. That way you'll know how much it'll cost you also, along with the transmission fluid and the Instant Shudder Fix. As you can see up here, Cody's already pumped in 1 quart. But all you do is put the one end of the transfer pump into the transmission and one into the transmission fluid bottle. So what Cody has done is he is filling the transmission up. He's probably going to fill it up to the top of this fill port, and then he will start the engine. Now what he done first is he left the check plug out, and he's going to fill it up to the check plug, and that way he'll know that he has it at least that full before and there it is. So now he knows that the transmission is full, and at that point he is going to keep on pumping until he gets to the top of this, which isn't going to be very much, maybe another half quart or a quart. Okay, so we are 6 quarts in, and Cody has this transmission full all the way up to the top. We still have not started the engine. That's why I showed you that. And after we start the engine, the fluid level will go down, and then we'll start checking it. Okay, so the engine's running now. We have no fluid coming out of the check port, and we are 6 quarts in. So Cody's going to start adding again. I'd say it's probably going to hold like 7.1 or 7.2. That's usually what these hold. But Cody's going to start adding fluid to it again, and we'll stay right here and see how much fluid that he puts in there. Alright guys, we are 6 3/4 quarts in. You see fluid coming out the check port. So I'm going to put this plug in and we're going to run it through the gears. Alright, so what we're going to do is pull it into reverse. We'll go to neutral. We'll go to drive. I like to do that one more time. I like to go back up to reverse. And then I like to go to neutral. And I like to go to drive. And then I'll put it back up in park. And we'll get ready for our final check on that transmission fluid. Like I said, make sure that the transmission fluid is above 95 degrees and you'll be just fine. And so let's get back underneath of there and check this fluid one more time. Okay, so we're up to operating temperature. We ran it through the gears. This transmission is full of fluid. We have torqued our check plug. And now we're going to put the field plug back in it. Cody's going to put the field plug back in it. And you can see slides it down and then he pushes the little tab down and that ends that. Guys, thanks for watching. This is Code Man's Auto. Please like and please subscribe.